So a couple of years ago, I was working, and in order to keep my job, I went into a hospital. Supervisor's decision, very grateful for it, that I was able to get paid. I actually got paid more going to the hospital to screen people at the door for schmovid. Sorry, I'm going to censor some of my words because, I don't know, I feel paranoid with YouTube that videos are going to get flagged or whatever if I say certain words. So schmovid happened. So people were concerned about getting schmovid. Why? Think about it. All of February, everything was normal. Come March, I think it was like March 6th or something, or maybe March 12th. I don't know, it was 4 years ago. Things shut down. And like I said, I went into the hospital. I was working as a screener, somebody who asked people about their symptoms when they walked in the hospital for an appointment in order to see if they had this schmovid or had the symptoms of it. So these people would walk in, we would ask them, and why we're as people were walking in for their appointments, a lot of people were driving up to the ER, the emergency room. And the emergency room got so jam-packed and the hospital was expecting so much traffic there that they were directing traffic to an outdoor quick ER thing where a physician assistant and a nurse and somebody else and sometimes me, being an athletic trainer, could take their blood pressure. We would all be there and they would drive up. And it happened all after the news started saying, hey, we have this huge pandemic, this huge outbreak. Here are the symptoms of it. You might want to go get checked out, causing everybody to panic. So everybody's acting normal, right? Normal, normal, normal. News comes on and says there's a pandemic. Boom, everybody goes to the ER. A lot of money for the ER. So that happened. And then they convinced people that they were coming out with, you know, they call it the jab. I don't want to say the V word. I don't know if they're still doing that on YouTube or people aren't saying that word, but they're talking about getting the jab, and they told you that you didn't want to get your relatives sick, and that if the curve, the cases were going up, if we could just slow down the curve, everything would be fine. As if it would, you know, it would just make it go away. And the jab was a big part of that, and they waited. They waited until you had time to digest it and accept the fact that there was a pandemic going on. And they told you you'd be locked down for a little while. And it wasn't until, it was supposed to be 2 weeks, and then it turned to months, and it wasn't until about 7 months later, if I remember correctly, that people started kind of like questioning. Bars started opening back up, but like with limited hours. It was kind of weird. Everybody just accepted it. So that was 2020. Recently, very, very recently, in the last couple of weeks, what happened? One of the candidates who's running for president almost gets shot. It's a miracle he didn't get shot, they say, because he turned his head and it brushed past him and it hit his ear. And the other candidate has been having a lot of commercials. If you watch these commercials, man, for the first time, this other candidate, I'm hearing people say, you know what, I kind of like her. I think she would be, you know, everything sounds good with her. And I think that's going to start happening more and more. Even though I was thinking about it, before about 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, nobody really knew much about this candidate. They knew she was the vice president. They knew, you know, who she was. They knew her name, but they probably couldn't name anything good that she had done. And all of a sudden, there are a bunch of commercials being blasted when you open up YouTube. Like every YouTube video you open up, or on TV, on the news, if you just search on the internet, it seems that she's become a very well-liked candidate. Whereas, I swear, just like a month or two ago, people would have said, like, yeah, there's no way that she would be, man, the alternative. I don't want her to be president, but now all of a sudden, everybody's just starting to take a liking to her. Why? I think because they're blasting it all over the news. And all of a sudden, you think you know this person because If you look at those commercials, actually, at the bottom of it, at the end of it, it says like paid for by Kamala. Like it says paid for by her. So she's paying for these commercials. You're watching them, and all of a sudden you're thinking like, oh, you know what? She might be a good president. I was never super into politics, and this isn't really about politics. This is a video about how the news and how the TV and how things around you can influence your own opinions. And what I know about our brains and our perceptions is that we tend to fill in the blanks. So when you don't know somebody, like think about a time when you didn't know somebody at all. You looked at them, you were neutral about them. And then they did something kind of cool, and you're like, oh, I really like this person's awesome. And then maybe 10 years down the line, you now have a different opinion of them. You're like, you know what, they're not perfect. They're still pretty good, but they've done things, you find out more about them. When you don't know everything about somebody, your brain tends to fill in the blanks. So if they're giving you commercials about somebody, and they're only saying the things they want you to absorb and remember, you're going to remember those things. And this isn't a problem for you if you're smart and you can analyze and realize what's going on. And you realize that maybe you have to do your own research, or you can just follow your gut and just trust your own life experience to tell if somebody's going to be a good leader or not a good leader, and just trust your gut if you don't want to do tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of research on somebody, because who has time for that? You're probably watching this and maybe you're a young adult and you're looking to build a family and you're working every day and you got shit to do. Why are you going to take the time to do that? So I guess you could say the take-home point is to always remain a bit skeptical or to always question, because knowing that your brain automatically fills in the gaps anywhere you don't have information. Like I use the example of somebody does something good and automatically it's like, oh, they must be a wonderful person. You fill in the gaps. Same goes in the opposite direction too. Your brain will just fill in the gaps. If you can be aware of that, you can question, is that really true? And then depending on how much life experience you have, you can trust your gut and make better decisions on who you trust as somebody to follow and to look up to. Let me know what you think of this video. If you agree, disagree, if you have any thoughts. Yeah, peace.